Hello and welcome to Run It Back on the Raptors Republic Network. I'm Zolfi Sheikh here, joined by Cody Wiles. Unfortunately, no Kyle Ramnarine this week. He is busy with the rest of his life, but we are going to hold it down here until he is back. But before we get into it, and there's a lot of fun stuff to talk about this week, Cody, my friend, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. We both got some haircuts, so it's
Yeah.
a hairless pod. It's not a hairless pod. It's a less hairless pod. But yeah, no Kyle, just us. A lot of fun topics today. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun one. I feel.
I absolutely agree. Hey, we're looking fresh. We're feeling fresh. The weather's nice out. I think this is the perfect time for us to just really bring the energy for a pod, especially because there's going to be a lot of fun stuff to talk about. And what we're going to talk about is some off-season chatter, and the Raptors are actually involved in quite a bit of the off-season chatter that's happening right now. Some possible blockbuster dealings that could happen. Some notes about the upcoming draft. We have some chatter that relates to that, and that'll be fun to kind of go over. I feel like the draft talk has kind of simmered down a little bit, but we are less than a month away. I think we're getting close to 3 weeks now, maybe.
Yeah,
So
2 days. So yeah, once this goes up, it'll be 3 weeks. So
exactly. So we're inching closer. We'll also give our thoughts on the NBA Finals starting on Thursday. As of recording, we are 2 days away. When this goes up, we'll only be 1 day away from the NBA Finals starting. That should be a lot of fun. And if we have time for it, we'll absolutely give you an update on the CEBL and what's happening through the last couple of weeks. But before we get into it, like always, please be sure to like this video, to subscribe to Raptors Republic. Even through the offseason, we have content constantly for you people. And on the website, raptorsrepublic.com, news, opinions, analysis, it is all there. And again, through the offseason, we are providing things for entertainment, for thoughts. I think there's just a draft roundtable that went up, a part 1 and 2 from Aiden. Cody, you contributed to it. I know Ian and a couple other people did as well. So there's lots of engaging thoughts there. So please be sure to check it out and spread the good word that Raptors Republic is offering out there to the people. But with that being said, you know what it is. Let's run it back. And Cody, we're going to start with a bit of a rumor roundup. And seeing as there was no games for about a week until we get to the finals on Thursday after the Knicks-Pacers series ended, it seems pretty natural that the league was like, well, we can't be forgotten. We got to really stir some stuff here. So league circles started talking. The rumor mill started spinning. And the Raptors were pretty involved in this chatter here. And just to not be like, I guess, not to skirt around it, basically in the last Hoop Collective podcast, ESPN's Brian Windhorst mentioned that the Toronto Raptors are looking for a big fish. That was the words he used. The quotes here, if you're watching on YouTube and if you're listening, Brian Windhorst basically said the Raptors are a team that is starting to make noise within the league about looking for a big fish. And essentially what he was kind of alluding to, or he spoke on it a little bit, is that Eastern Conference landscape is shifting. If you look at some of the other teams out there, whether it's Boston and their injury situation, whether it's potentially Milwaukee in this report with Giannis being open-minded to leaving, and teams like Toronto could be interested in making a move and capitalizing on that. Windhorst went on to say that any team that wants to make a move this summer, especially a team in the Eastern Conference, you're going to have Giannis on that board, and teams in the league are getting the impression that Toronto is going to at least try something. And Windhorst, like, he kind of capped it off by saying that, like, whether it's Toronto or not, he expects it to be, in his words, were an explosive summer, because he's hearing a lot of teams are making calls and being active at this point in the offseason when they're not. But he ended it by saying that, like, I know it doesn't mean it's going to happen, but Toronto is one of those teams that is sitting on the balls of its feet, which is interesting. And then just to wrap it up here before I get your thoughts, Cody, Toronto's very own Toronto Stars, Doug Smith, did also come out with, a report of his own. And he mentioned the phrase was there's mutual interest between the two sides, between the Toronto Raptors and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Obviously, there is a long-standing relationship between Giannis and Masai Ujiri that goes back to helping Giannis kind of and his family migrate from Nigeria to Greece, and kind of the relationship entering the NBA. So we know that's there. And the last thing Doug added was that if there was trade talks, that there would be no untouchables on the Raptors roster, which is obviously something I'm sure a lot of fans perked their ears up at when they heard that. But Cody, a lot to digest there, a lot of chatter, all very Giannis-centric. What did you make of this?
I mean, it seemed like things were kind of trending in that direction towards Giannis, and then all on one day it was like, yeah, the Doug Smith piece in his mailbag, and then Brian Windhorst on the Hoop Collective, and he kind of brought that up on his own. Like that was not really a forced thing. They were talking about Siakam specifically, and then he kind of dropped that with the Raptors. So, hey, there's a lot of noise, and I mean, if you look at the position Toronto's in, and what with everything going on, like the East is wide open. The roster, their cap sheet is structured well for a big trade, and you have all your picks in the hand. Like now is the time. Like this is. They've been patient. I know it would take some more tinkering around the roster, which you have it if if Giannis actually does end up coming to the Raptors, that's a distant thought. But I mean, the time would be now to make a move, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that absolutely makes sense. And kind of like going to that point, I think Masai knows that makes sense, or that's the way he views it. Like you said, the East feels wide open. If you look at some of the teams, and I wrote this down, the Cleveland Cavaliers, they're probably still the top dogs. Injuries did play a part in their second consecutive second round exit. And so they're probably still going to be at the top, but the margin isn't nearly as large as it looked this year with them being a 64-win team. I think we can generally agree on that after back-to-back second-round exits. The Celtics are financially hamstrung, and you have the Jason Tatum injury. You have no idea what this team's going to look like. They're probably going to have to look at trading at least one of Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, or Derek White. The Bucks, we obviously saw the report. This all started when Giannis basically said he was open-minded to possibly playing elsewhere. Again, that's via a report. We don't know how true that all is, but it's because the Bucks are as old as they were. They got ran at the gym by the Pacers. They're expensive as hell. They don't have much of their picks left. And Damian Lillard, he's also coming off an Achilles injury. We can't forget that. Like, we don't know what his future is going to be like. He's on the wrong side of 30 right now, with all due respect to Dame time, but we don't know what he's going to return like. The 76ers, we have no clue what Embiid's health is long term. Paul George experiment has not been great so far. The Knicks were awesome to make the conference final. They just fired their head coach. So we don't even know what their coaching situation is going to be like. And that's only to mention some of the teams at the top, but we don't have too many questions. And there's other teams that we may have question marks for as well. So to your point, I feel like Masai knows it, that this time is so wide open for team to capitalize. And Cody, you put it perfectly, where they are so well positioned compared to the Eastern Conference. I would say if you bring in the teams from the West, it's a very different conversation because there's some teams who can offer probably more than the Raptors again. But if that previous report is true that Giannis wants to stay in the East, look at the teams that can probably make a compelling package for him. I would say it's the Raptors and the Nets. And if you're Giannis, which team helps you be competitive sooner? I think it's pretty clear.
It's Toronto. And I mean, if you want to get a little theorist or conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
I don't know, mind conspiracy. Hey, Masai, it's reported that this is his final year of his contract.
Yeah.
Potentially could be looking to be a bit more aggressive. And if you look across the pond, what happened to the Toronto Maple Leafs, Brendan Shanahan let go as the team president of the Toronto Maple Leafs after 11 years, I believe. And there's no plans to hire another one. The GM, Brad Treliving, will report right to Keith Pelly. So who knows if that's it. When you look back at what Keith Pelly did before with TFC, that is also what they did, similar to that as well. So, I mean, that's clearly how, he has a track record now of that's how he likes to run things. It's the final year for Masai. Does he think there's a little more pressure there to get something done? I don't know, but I think it's worth noting, I would say, going on in the back end there. But I mean, if we get into, let's say, I think it comes down to what Giannis wants to do, right? Like,
yes,
he's going to control where he lands. So, I mean, Toronto seems to be one of those teams, at least in the mix, if he does decide to leave. That's the whole thing. He has to decide to leave. So definitely jumping the gun here a little bit, but I wanted to ask you a question because it seems to be the hot topic right now. When you go on Raptors Twitter, people are fighting back and forth. There's strong opinions on both sides. So the question that everybody's asking, do you deal Scotty, and can you even get a deal done without him?
Okay, I'll circle back to the second part, but my short answer to that is the second part is I think yes, you probably could get a deal done without Scotty, and I'll get back to why in a second. But would I or would I not? Personally, yes, I would trade Scotty Barnes for Giannis Antetokounmpo. And I know the conversation is like, well, is 5 years of Giannis worth possibly 10 years of Scotty Barnes? To me, in my calculus, it's yes, because we currently know the level that Giannis is at, which is a multiple time MVP, a perennial top 3 player in the league, and he has been like a top 5 MVP finalist in I think like 6 of the last 7 seasons or something like that. Like we know very clearly the level he's at. We know the team building, how that needs to work around him and what's going to be possible with that star player. We have proof of concept. We've seen Giannis be the best player on a championship team. And those 10 years of Scottie Barnes that we're projecting for, there is no guarantee he reaches that level. That's the question you have to ask yourself. Do you believe within those 10 years, Scottie Barnes can be a multi-time MVP? Do you believe he can be the best player on a championship team? And do I project that Scottie Barnes has great upside? Absolutely. But can I bank on that to get to that level? Not at all. There's probably no player other than maybe LeBron James coming out of high school that you could probably have been comfortable with. Maybe Michael Jordan, I guess, where you could be comfortable with saying they're probably going to reach that level. So just the way the calculus works in my head, I just don't know if a decade of Scottie Barnes is going to get me closer than half a decade of Giannis would. I truly don't think so. So I would go for Giannis now. Even 5 years of Giannis, he's 30 years old. I think he can get you pretty far. You have half a decade. We're only 6 years removed from the Raptors' last championship, so another 6 years is plenty of time with one of the best players in the world to kind of try to figure out and make it happen, in my opinion. So it wouldn't be nice, obviously. I think Masai would absolutely try to keep Scottie Barnes, but at the end of the day, if that was the make or break and I was in his shoes, that I would make that deal.
Yeah, it's also going to come down to, like you mentioned, like what are the other offers? Like, is there another asset around the league that's going to be dangled more than Scottie Barnes? I'm not sure, but if I was Masai and if it came down to it, I think I would, but I don't know, man. I don't know if I'd have the balls to do it, to pull something like that off, because it's such an aggressive switch. Look, we've been in the mindset of talking about the Raptors like, hey, building. This year we're going to start looking to win, and then all of a sudden you bring Giannis in, and it's like, oh well, now we're you're vaulted into championship contention.
Contend, not just win, contend.
Right then and there, right? So it would also depend what else is in that deal. I would assume. I mean, no, I don't know if there's really a point in really getting into it because there's so many. The Raptors are like I mentioned, their roster and cap sheet is structured so well for a big trade where you got all these different salaries you can combine, you got all these younger assets you can combine, you got all these draft picks you can combine, and if the Raptors are willing to throw in Scottie, like I don't see why they wouldn't get Giannis, especially if he wants to come, which. I mean, according to Doug Smith, there's mutual interest. So, I mean, obviously it's weird. Like usually when you go and get a star, you keep your best player to pair.
You want to pair them together, yeah.
But it's so that's I think that'd be the leverage that Masai can hold. Like this really doesn't ever happen, but this is a bit of a unique circumstance, I feel, and Masai's in a unique position, and the Raptor team is in a unique position to where you could trade your star and still be really good afterwards. Because, that's the other thing. What does the roster look like after whatever trade is made? And does it work? Does it not? Because Giannis is certainly a unique player in his own right to where – I mean, does him and Jakob Poeltl work if Poeltl's still on the roster? Like, the shooting woes just continue to get even worse there. But, lots of different things to think about. They have the assets to do it. It's just a matter if Giannis wants to do it. And at least the Raptors are in a good position to do it if he wants to.
For sure. And I like the word that you used in leverage. I think that's super important here. And, like, I wrote about this, and basically what I said was that for the Raptors to get to the negotiating table, it has to be off the legwork of Giannis saying, I want to stay in the East, and the Raptors are a team I'm interested in. That will get the Raptors to the negotiating table. Like I said, if it's against teams in the Western Conference, it gets a lot trickier. A team like San Antonio that seems poised to kind of make that same decision where they want to leap into contention, they could probably offer more than the Raptors have to offer, whether it's through picks and young prospects. Because, mind you, Milwaukee, again, doesn't have control of many of their picks. So they have no interest in tanking right now. They want to be somewhat competitive, or you're going to be throwing them a boatload of picks in a trade for them to kind of have those future assets, right? So some of those teams out west can do more. But if the Raptors are – if If the Bucks are told by Giannis that the Raptors are a team I want to go to, then it makes it a lot more interesting because the Raptors are then given leverage in the situation, which we've seen Masai in the past. You give him that bit of leverage to work, he can finesse some deals out. We've seen it happen in a lot of situations. We saw what he got for Jaden McDaniels, all due respect. But you see what he's able to turn that into, right? Because the Sacramento Kings wanted to get off Davion Mitchell's money, wanted to get off Sasha Vezenkov's money, and they wanted to figure out their books a little bit. And Masai Ujiri was really able to swing a convenient heel for this team. So if he has that leverage of knowing Giannis wants to be here and Giannis is willing to strong arm the Bucks a little bit, he can try to work a deal to happen without Scotty Barnes. Like we said, it's probably going to have to include Scotty Barnes to make or break. But to your earlier question, this is why I think it doesn't necessarily have to. Because if the Raptors have even gotten this far, it's because Giannis is saying, I want to be here, or at least I want you to look at this team as an option. So then Masai can really say, well, we already know Giannis is going to dictate the terms here to Milwaukee's front office, so we don't have to include Scotty Barnes if we don't want to. We can try to get this done with it. If it's Jakob Poeltl, RJ Barrett, like you said, Cody, there's a lot of contracts that can really make matching Giannis's 50+ million kind of easy for the Raptors. And then
RJ and IQ is seamless. Yeah. It's seamless.
It's perfect. Yeah. Even if you do like RJ and Jakob Poeltl, like you said, the spacing is a concern with Giannis and Jakob. So if you wanted to try to like move Jakob and then figure out the center spot a different way, like in my crazy haired scheme brain, if we went for Giannis and we traded Jakob Poeltl, I would just try to throw as much money as I could to Miles Turner in free agency and see what happens there. Obviously, that is, again, my brain is going a mile a minute thinking of crazy ideas.
Naz Reid is planning on opting out as well. I mean, it would be that we're going down a wrong rabbit hole.
Well, I think that's what Masai Ujiri and the front office are doing, because they're going down this rabbit hole too.
I mean, if you make that trade, you gotta be thinking 2 steps ahead, because you got to go full in. You can't waste a year. And
then your pit, like people are like concerned about the future and what it's going to be like. Those picks matter so much less to you now, and that's why like when people are concerned about the roster building or like what's going to be around Giannis, well then those picks you now have in the next couple of years, those are you look at those as trade chips now, because
I mean the Raptors are already planning on trying to win next year. Like I think we all expect the Raptors to be in the playoffs next year. I think at least the play in. I would hope
for sure.
So you're already looking at a barely a lottery pick, a non-lottery pick already. And with the youngness of this core, like the next 3-4 years, you would think would be non-lottery picks, hopefully, or late lottery picks. So it's like,
yeah, that's the plan.
You gotta think, those aren't even that, like, you're trading back like 14 spots, say, in each draft or whatever. You know what I mean? Like that, if you think about it like that, it's actually not that bad. But I mean, when you're giving up all of the picks, it's like, well, we got nothing. But I mean, if Giannis wants to stay in the Eastern Conference, which I think would be the right call, and is what is being reported, like I haven't heard another team mentioned outside of Brooklyn. And when you're looking at the Eastern Conference, like who can realistically make a play for Giannis? Like, are the Knicks gonna go crazy and do that? Maybe. But other than that, like the Hawks, I don't know. And I mean, if it's just Toronto and Brooklyn, I don't think Brooklyn's outbidding Toronto in any. I think Toronto should be able to outbid Brooklyn with Scotty off the table. So
for sure.
I think there's a path to Scotty not being included, which would be the dream. I actually think the fit may be kind of clunky, but I think it would definitely work out, especially defensively. My goodness, you wouldn't even need a big, really. Maybe a floor spacing big would be perfect, but those two can, cause enough havoc on the back line themselves to have your rim protection. But man, we're really on Giannis watch. Hey, like this is another, and it's Toronto, man, like another summer or, of just watching somebody. And based on how it's been in the, the last couple of years, like, well, he's going to LA or New York.
Oh my God! Please don't put that in the universe. I guess I don't need more. Yeah, that's true. But like to your point, the Kawhi trade changed the perception of Toronto sports fans forever. The Raptors were always Raptors fans. At least I can speak for myself. There's always this feeling of always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Right? They're a very great regular season team, but they kept running into LeBron James. They couldn't get over the hump. They built this decade-long run of success, but what did it amount to more than just feel-good stories about this team in the Eastern Conference that were cellar dwellers for the longest time, right? And then Masai Ujiri was able to swing that trade for Kawhi Leonard. It showed that he and this front office were capable of building a team that was just shy of that difference maker, that star player, that absolute superstar. And now that's changed the trajectory for sports fans here, because like we can use the other examples, whether it's Shohei Ohtani and the Blue Jays. You look at the Blue Jays front office and the moves they've made and they tweaked, and I'm not going to get into like what people's opinions are of them, but like fans here thought Shohei Ohtani is that difference maker who's going to solve problems for this team regardless of what the roster is like. And then the team is going to have to be forced to build around him and be successful. And that's the same way you view Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's a problem solver. That's what superstars are. They live through situations like clunky fit with Scotty Barnes or whoever, be damned. They would be so good at what they do, they would build their own identity that would be different than every other basketball team. That's what superstar teams do.
Yeah. And you're not winning if the ultimate goal is to win a championship, like you're not winning a ship without a top 10 player at least. Yeah. Like it's like that's just like I mean maybe the Pacers. I mean, would you call Pascal or Tyrese Halliburton a top 10 guy? I mean, this new CBA maybe has.
Well, I'd say top 15, right? Because I'm pretty sure one of them, if not both, Pascal made All NBA, right?
Well, I guess, yeah. So okay, fair enough.
Like a top 15 guy, let's say.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. I guess like you need one of those guys, right? And Toronto currently has none. Like, I mean,
right now
is borderline the top. I mean, if you're thinking All-Star, like he's borderline top 30, 40 guy.
I'd say 30, yeah.
For argument's sake, you know what I mean? So. You definitely need an upgrade there, and if it's a swap with him, or preferably, you keep that top 30 to 40 guy. And I mean, Brandon Ingram would also be somebody that would be a lovely pairing next to.
I would love it next to Giannis. It'd be so much fun.
Yeah. So, but apparently the Bucks inquired about Brandon Ingram too. So, I mean, I don't think there's any restrictions on trading BI. So maybe you could. That would be crazy. You pick him up and then you flip him in a yacht. That would be wild. But that'd be like some chestnut checkers.
Yeah. Hey, man, the way if you listen to the Hoop Collective, the way they were talking about Brandon Ingram compared to Pascal Siakam, not that I completely disagree with the sentiment, but if you then turn that guy and the way he's viewed right now by the media into Giannis Antetokounmpo, Masai Ujiri would have a statue built of him right at City Hall. He'd be given the keys to the city right away based on that.
Maybe a contract extension as well, but it's. I guess we're on Giannis watch officially. We've now talked about him for. We led with him, so it's over us. But yeah, I guess we'll keep everybody updated with what happens. I mean, I wrote a big roundup on Raptors Republic if you want to go check it out, like with everything that's gone on with him and taking a look at what a trade could possibly look like. I mentioned that Scotty would probably not be included, but then it's just you get into a whole nother rabbit hole. But I think we've done a good job at analyzing this from a bunch of angles here.
Yeah, I think we give good, genuine, just like perspective of like people like fans and what the thoughts that are like going through their heads. And I find it funny, like you said, Cody. Like we are on Giannis watch now, but it's so funny how this started because. That Giannis report comes out, we're like potentially open-minded, and we're like, okay, sure, yeah, like that would be the dream, but whatever. And then you see this report from, I think his name is Brian Robinson, NBA Insider. He's the one who said that Giannis wants to stay in the East. He'd probably want a place where he can kind of dominate the market culturally and kind of be able to build his presence here. And obviously, Toronto fits the bill there. He'd want to have some influence in front office or coaching, say, and things like that. Again, this is all per that report. And again, then you're like, okay, he wants to stay in the East. He wants these things in Toronto. You'd assume he's going to be able to offer them. Now the snowball is starting to roll a little bit, right? But you're still just like, okay, whatever. And then Brian Windhorst, like you said, Cody, just comes out with this. It's mostly unprompted when they're going back and forth about Siakam and Ingram. And he's like, because I think not that Tim Bontemps was ragging on the Raptors, but he's like, oh, look, you had Siakam, you had Anunoby, you had Fred VanVleet, what you could have done and built around those guys. And then Windy basically responded by saying, "Well, don't discount them yet. They might be doing something here." Yeah. So that's the interesting part to me, and it's crazy how we've got here. To your point, Cody.
I mean, yeah, but to that report, like he didn't. Giannis was mentioned, but he necessarily wasn't like Giannis to Toronto. Like you said, a big fish in general. So, I mean, other options like obviously don't seem as attractive to as Giannis, and I'm
Yeah.
not sure if anybody else would really be worth like pushing chips in for.
Yeah, so great segue there. You just threw it to me perfectly. This was the D Wade to LeBron lob against the Bucks. For against the Bucks too. Look at that. Yeah, so Brian Windor's mentioned big fish and potential options there, and like you said, everyone's immediately looking at Giannis as the big fish, the biggest fish, I guess. Some are calling him the white whale. But to consider some other options, I put some names together and kind of want to get your, I guess, like pulse check on them. And like you said, would you be willing to push the chips into the table for them? And I think the first name that comes to mind for most people is Kevin Durant. Given the Sun situation, given that they missed the playoffs altogether, they have no like real future capital. They don't really have a great financial situation as well. Kevin Durant's obviously the older of the two stars on that team. What would you like? What does Kevin Durant do for you?
Yeah, I'm trying to search up. I thought I saw a report that the Suns have dropped their asking price. I don't know if that's legit or what, but like they've dropped his asking price. Oh, per Kelly Iko of the Athletic.
Okay, yeah.
They've lowered their asking price for Kevin Durant, aggressively pursuing trading him, preferably before next month's draft. So like that's like you said, that's 3 weeks. Yeah, I don't know. Is I don't know what that ask is. It's clearly a lot less than Giannis. I wouldn't do it. I just think he's too old. The Raptors, it's probably even with Giannis, like it's probably gonna take. I wouldn't bet on them to win the championship next year. I think the roster would have to be tinkered and almost overhauled to some degree across like this year and next if they were to do something like that. I don't think Durant is adding enough punch right now, plus the injury stuff at this point in time with this Raptors roster. I know the cost would be a lot less, but I mean, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I think I'm generally in the same boat as you here, Cody. Like Kevin Durant, like you said, for me, he is one of my favorite players of all time. Like, and I think he's one of the best pure scorers of all time. I think we can agree on that. He's 36 years old. Like you said, with the Suns last season, he wasn't really able to lift his team higher than their floor was, and that's just kind of just the reality of the situation. So if you were somehow able to pull off this trade, which again, without including Scotty Barnes, I think he can get really interesting there. But I'm assuming you'd have to include Brandon Ingram or move somewhere beyond that because then there's a crazy amount of overlap. But now we're going down a rabbit hole. But for the most part, I'm not sure the package you put together to get in return for KD is really moving the needle to the high level that the front office would be looking for out of a swing like this. Again, when you make that move for Giannis, it's like you are like a step away from championship contention because that's how good Giannis is. Is KD at that point anymore in his career? I'm not exactly sure based on what we've seen with the Suns the last couple of years. So I personally am in the same boat, but there is another younger superstar in Phoenix by the name of Devin Booker. And if the Suns really wanted to hit the reset button here, he is their longest tenured player right now. He's been there his entire career of 10 years. I believe he leads the franchise in scoring. So he is an all-time Suns great, I think we could safely say.
How long did you say he's been there?
10 years.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, time flies, eh?
That's wild. Jeez. I should have known that, but sorry to cut you off. But yeah, Devin Booker, yeah, sign me up. I mean, duh. Like he would be, I guess, I mean, if you could keep Scotty Barnes in a trade with that, like perfect fit. Like,
I think if you were making this trade as Masai or like you got that far, it would be on the contingency to your earlier point, Cody, that he's like, no, Scotty is not going to be part of this. I'll give you anything else but Scotty because the dream is pairing the two together, and that's why you do it. It's like the Spurs trying to go after De'Aaron Fox. It's because they know what he can be with Wemby if it works out. So I would assume it'd be the same idea.
Yeah, and Devin Booker is not a perennial MVP candidate. So, I mean, yeah, that would be great. I mean, he's fantastic. I don't know much what else to say. Like his shot making, his 3-point shooting is something that this team would love to have. A superstar like guard creator like that is perfect. Like, I mean, you see the teams that were in the Final Four, they all had that guard that could really do everything, and at least offensively, and control the tempo, score, shoot three. So Toronto needs to find them one of those. They're hoping Emmanuel quickly can be that. We'll see. But Devin Booker would for sure be that.
Yeah, Devin Booker has taken leap as a playmaker as well, to your point, Cody. He averaged career high 7.1 assists. With Bradley Beal's injury history and him being in and out of the lineup, Devin Booker was quite often tasked with being that lead playmaker for them and being a point guard more than a shooting guard. So there is some juice there. But if that's not a guard that scratches your itch, how about Ja Morant from the Memphis Grizzlies? He's a name I've seen thrown out there. I'm kind of curious to see if how, like, I guess, realistic you would think this is, because like I'm personally not entirely sold why the Memphis Grizzlies would have to do this.
Agreed. Yeah, I've seen his name tossed around. I think reports were starting I think if there was a report around when the playoffs started that like watch out for like the Grizzlies and Morant, like something might be going on there. I don't know. Obviously it's been a bit rocky in Memphis with him. Yeah, I don't know why Memphis would do it. If you want to come to Toronto, like, yeah, sure, sign me up again. I mean, it's a bit of a clunkier fit, obviously, just with the 3-point shooting, even though it has improved, I believe. I mean, yeah, he's a superstar guard creator. The athleticism is through the roof, obviously, and his rim pressure is needed again on Toronto. So. Obviously different player than Devin Booker. Both would fill a certain need, and you would have to build differently with either guard. But yeah, sign me up.
There's a lot of players here. I feel like the answer is going to be like, well, if it's possible, then hell yeah, let's do it. Because again, they're all big fish, quote unquote.
Yeah, I have seen Sabonis. Apparently, the Raptors are I think per Bovoda, they're the favorite for Sabonis if he leaves.
Yeah. So I have that list here. So like you said, per Bovoda. Oh my God, that's a mouthful to say. Yeah, Bovoda. According to them, the Raptors are plus 500 to land Domantas Sabonis. Where and why that comes from, I have no clue. But yeah, so the Raptors are number one. Giannis is number 2 on that list of next stars who could land in Toronto at plus 600. After that, it's Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Drew Holiday, Jamal Murray, Lauri Markkanen, Kevin Durant. And then it's Jaren Jackson Jr., which, again, does not make sense to me. Devin Booker, Ja Morant, and, Nikola Jokic. I feel like when you throw that name on there, this is just getting a loony bins situation here. But, yeah, so Domantas Sabonis is a name that's being tossed around now. And, again, per this betting company, he's the favorite to land in Toronto. What do you make of Domantas Sabonis potentially being a Raptor?
I mean, initially, I haven't really thought about it too much because – I was like, this is just what is this? This is just, But yeah, Jake Weinbach, who I've heard the name before. He doesn't have an affiliation. I apologize. I'm not sure who he writes for, but he's saying that the Raptors are one team to keep an eye on in a potential pursuit of Sabonis if the Kings. Yeah, so I guess with the betting odds and I guess this report, I guess there is a little bit of validity to it. Is that like a Pirtle swap? I'm not sure what that is. I believe, God, I'm getting all these reports mixed up. Somebody also said, maybe it was Doug Smith, I believe, on radio, that the Raptors are perfectly happy with Pirtle in regards to a Sabonis trade. So
yeah,
that one doesn't make as much sense to me. Again, I think there's other options than Sabonis, and I don't know. Again, if Sabonis is that guy that's gonna elevate you to an Eastern Conference Final, a championship, I'm not sure. And then you got to change a lot about your offense if you bring in Sabonis and your defense. You got to change your team.
Yeah, your defense especially. And to answer that question, Cody, respectfully to Domantas Sabonis, we know the answer. He's not that person that's going to elevate you to that degree. We saw it with Indiana. Indiana was willing to move on from him and send him to Sacramento. We saw him paired with De'Aaron Fox in Sacramento and how far that was able to go. They had that one great year where they exceeded expectations with Mike Brown. He won Coach of the Year. They were the 3rd seed. They unfortunately got bounced by a more experienced and polished Golden State Warriors team with Steph Curry. There's no shame in that. But since then, they haven't been able to really replicate that juice. And now De'Aaron Fox is on a different team. And I think they just know Domantas Sabonis isn't going to be that person they can pair with to kind of move the needle. So I don't see why the Raptors would think differently. And like you said, he's less defense oriented than Jakob Poeltl, maybe has better touch offensively. And you could say the same thing about him compared to Scotty Barnes. They're both playmaking bigs, but you could say he has a bit more touch than Scotty, but Scotty's far more athletic and a much better defender. So really, like, where's the needle being moved here? That's kind of where I push back on that. But a player that wasn't on that list from Bovada that I find interesting, I think it was Clutch Points that they put out a very long Twitter thread about like how the Raptors could land a star, and I found it very funny and interesting because like I don't think I've ever seen them just go to bat for the Raptors, I guess, for lack of a better term like that. But they brought up the name Jaylen Brown. So obviously we talked about the Celtics situation financially. They have new ownership coming in. And I think that new ownership spent like somewhere around like $3 billion to buy the Celtics. So they've already spent a lot of money. This team, we know how expensive they are. The Jason Tatum situation, we don't know what that's going to be like. And we already talked about potentially having to trade one of the other guys. Maybe they can keep a nucleus of Jason Tatum with the Derek White, Drew Holiday, KP mix, who would still obviously be very, very good by moving Jaylen Brown. And is like, what is it, $300 million max contract, whatever it was, some insane number like that. Right. And my biggest, I guess, like pushback here is I don't think the Celtics would trade him to a division rival and in the Eastern Conference, but I'm curious to see like what would you think of Jaylen Brown on the Raptors?
I mean, yeah, it'd be great. He's a really good player, but it's hard for me to even like get excited about that or think about that just because like why would like I don't think Boston would do that. Like I think they'd much rather for their money. Like I see the reasoning why they would do it to some degree. Like the money is like beyond like they're gonna I'd be shocked if they didn't shed salary. Like they're paying so much. I've already paid so much. And with Tatum's injury, it's like we're not probably gonna get back to that level of competing for a championship next season at least. Even though there is something interesting about like Tatum's surgery, he got it done like I think it was the night of or the next day or something.
It was quick.
I don't know. There's a certain something about there that trying to get him back a bit quicker, but yeah, I think they would much rather trade Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, before they trade Jaylen Brown.
Yeah. I think I guess the conversation comes down to is would you rather have Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and figure it out from there after you shed salary, or would you rather have one of Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum with quality pieces and shed the salary of the other guy and then kind of build from there? I guess it's a matter of perspective on that. And that's what it would come down to. And like you said, Cody, I think most would agree. You'd probably just go with the pairing of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and figure it out. The NBA is still a star-driven league after all. But yeah, the last name I have here is Trae Young. He's a very polarizing player. He led the league in assists this year, career high, I believe it was like 11.4 or something like that. He's obviously an elite playmaker. He's an elite pick and roll player. We know how he can be a great lob passer. He's generational there, I think isn't hyperbolic to say. He is a great scorer, but we obviously know about his deficiencies on the other side of the ball. He was able to lead that team to a conference finals run a couple years ago, hasn't been able to really replicate that success. And this Hawks team has gotten a lot younger. They swapped out DeJounte Murray. They have Dyson Daniels, Jalen Johnson, who is coming off an injury, but hopefully he'll recover well. Do they just rip the Band-Aid off here with Trae and find them a trade partner? And would you like that fit in Toronto?
I wouldn't hate it. I definitely wouldn't hate it. I haven't really thought about this one either. Yeah, you're just kind of throwing these. I didn't even know this. I like it in the sense of like having, like we were talking about with Devin Booker and John Morant, like that guard creator. Obviously, all three of those guys are such different players, but I mean, yeah, he would give some juice to the offense. And I mean, the half court offense for the Raptors has been abysmal, and they made changes to address that with Brandon Ingram. And then Trae Young would certainly help the half court offense. I can tell you that. Again, you'd probably need to find a more rim running big to pair with him because that's just
fair.
Or a Shamshay maybe, I don't know. But obviously bringing any of these guys, you'd have to change it up. I wouldn't hate it, but again, he's another one of those guys like we've seen. Like there's limitations, and is it possible to put enough around him defensively to make it work outside of a one conference finals run, which like some people, I mean, dare I say we call it a fluke. So
yeah, fair.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't hate it. Depends on the cost. I could see why Atlanta would be motivated to move him though, to some degree.
For sure. And like it's interesting because like you said, like it would come down to the front office and how much confidence they have in being able to insulate Trae Young's weaknesses or deficiencies. Like you saw the New York Knicks, they built a team to kind of contend with the Celtics based on this premise of having large perimeter oriented wings who can defend multiple positions, who can roam around. It was their way of trying to mitigate the concerns of Jalen Brunson as a defender, and then to some degree to Cat when he joined the team. And it got them to a conference finals and within 2 wins of making the finals. So it didn't get them all the way. It got them pretty damn far. And I think a lot of teams would be okay with that, at least to start off. It's like, do you believe, as a front office, can you find the players to insulate Trae Young in this case? Currently with the Raptors, I'm not so sure. Like you maybe have a guy like Scotty, Ochai, Jamal, like some like Jacoby guys who can be a little like that kind of versatile defenders who can help. Is that enough on your roster? I'm not so sure, and you'd obviously have to give up something in return for Trae Young, something of value that is. So I think that's where the calculus comes down to with him. But Cody, I think we've done a lot of a big fish talking. I'm all fished out.
I was gonna say 41 minutes on trade talk is probably we definitely went a lot longer than we meant to on that. I mean, do we want to start another topic or
absolutely?
Yeah, okay, let's keep going.
Look, Cody, you are one of the draft experts here at Raptors Republic, so obviously I have to kind of tap you for this one. You and Brandon do a lot of great work. You've had your own pod with draft coverage as well. So the other buzz that related to the Raptors recently was from Kevin O'Connor of Yahoo Sports. He came out with his, I believe he had a mock draft and an article that kind of went with it talking about things. And in that, he mentions pertaining to Toronto is that many executives around the NBA expect the Raptors to lean towards selecting a player that can help the team win games in the short term with this pick rather than a raw project. And I believe you quote tweeted that, and we're kind of not questioning it, but you said you weren't sure if you agreed with that. And I'm curious to know, did you mean that in the sense of like you're not sure how valid this report is, or you're not sure that philosophy makes sense as a whole? So let me hear it.
Yeah, it was in regards to the philosophy of it. It's interesting because the way he phrased it, it was win now rather than like a project. I don't want like it's funny. I don't want the Raptors to really do either. Like, and it's funny. I have a prospect who I think this is what all this stems from. Is I've landed on who I think I want Toronto to take.
Okay.
So and he checks like a lot of boxes. So okay, let me. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to sacrifice upside for more production right now. Like. This team is still a couple years away. I know we're getting in the Giannis talk and whatnot. Even if they do get him, this picks up the door. You can say goodbye to it.
Yeah.
So then it really wouldn't matter. But I mean, if they want like a win, like, and again, who are the win now? Who's the win now guy? Like,
is it? That's what I wanted to ask you. You tell me.
And that's the thing. I'm struggling to find value there at 9 when there's guys with more upside. Like, is it Colin? The guys I can think of. Well, in his mock draft, he had Cedric Howard being the guy. That 3-and-D guy who has been through a lot and is pretty productive. He's obviously on the older side of things, Washington State. So he was the guy he tabbed. Like, is it Colin Murray Boyles? Is it Rasheer Fleming? Like, all those names feel a bit early from you when there's still potential upside on the board. I just like Carter Bryant, man. Like that.
I figured that's who you're going to bring up. That's your guy. You've been on Carter Bryant early. You deserve that respect.
And because I think he checks both boxes. Like, he can come in and help right now. Like, the Raptors would love his 3-and-D abilities and the ability to use him at the point of attack and help be a low man sweeper. Give him some, give the Raptors a vertical pop on offense, a lob threat on offense, which you traditionally get from a big. But Bryant can do that in more of an off-ball situation. Obviously, he's an off-ball player with a lot of mouths to feed in Toronto. He is somebody that can fit in right now and help and win with potential for there to be more upside. You know what I'm saying? So, because there is some more flashes of like with the ball in his hands, like there's a little off the dribble stuff. There's some reading the floor stuff and making plays. So there could be a little more untapped stuff there. Like he barely played. He barely had the ball in his hands. He committed and fit a role. According to Sampson and the people he's talked to, he's a hard worker as well. So you love that. He's got the wingspan. He's got a little skill. Great defensively. Like he's going to make an impact on that end day one, I think, for Toronto. So yeah, it's more so me coming down to Carter Bryant because I don't know if you necessarily classify him as a win now guy. But I think he is, and I think he is also upside. I just don't want to sacrifice upside at number 9 just to get somebody like some of those guys I mentioned who are going to help the Raptors this season, but might not have a lower ceiling, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like low ceiling, high floor isn't exactly what most people anticipate teams doing in the draft are going after, right? Like the idea is to find as high a ceiling as possible. And like you have to trust your team to be able to cultivate that, I think, is the way most fans hope their team approach this. But I think, like, to your whole point, Cody, like the verbiage here doesn't work all that well because it leans on the draft not being what it is, and that's a crapshoot. Like the draft is so hard to predict anything with these guys. You can make a case one way or the other for most of these players, like you said, Cody. Like I can look at a guy like Kaman Malawach, and I can give you a reason why I think he's a win now player. He's incredibly low usage. He would fit a need for this Raptors team. He'd be able to do things without asking for too much in terms of responsibility. And the things that he is good at right now, like, is the thing the team needs. It would add a lot of size, especially at the backup center spot, which is an area of need. Again, a vertical spacing threat. He's not the greatest rebounder, but he's huge. He's a good screener. He has, like, again, potential defensively, especially at that size. So you can say that about him. I can look at a guy like Thomas Sorber, who I think Brandon is very high on, who's a very productive player in college, who can be a more traditional big man and do things that way. Like, you can make this case across the board for guys and say why they're win now or why they're like potential upside swings, because they're prospects. It's a crapshoot. So like the verbiage here, just like I feel like doesn't actually accomplish anything.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I took from it is they don't want somebody who's going to take 2 to 3 years, which, like, is that like a Noah Esenge? Like, is that like a, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I took more from that as in, okay, they might not like be fully swinging for the fences, like, and then the first thing that comes to mind for me is like Noah. But yeah, Kaman Malawach and Carter Bryant are the names I've landed on at 9. I feel it's looking like Malawach is going to be gone, unfortunately. The more I'm kind of thinking about it and reading what the guys who have the intel are saying, Bryant should be there. I've seen actually him go before Toronto, which would just be brutal. But yeah, even if people go ahead, like, stuff can fall. Like, the Raptors are still going to get an impact player. And it's just, like you said, like, I just need to know who that player they're targeting is, and I hope the philosophy isn't just, well, he can help us now. And I don't think that is the Raptors' philosophy. Obviously, this is off of just one report, but interesting. Like, we're talking about all these trades. We've talked about the draft for 7 minutes, and it's in 3 weeks. But yeah, lots of fun. It's fun times right now in Toronto. It's almost crazy to wrap your head around, like, so many different ways this thing can go, but that's the way the roster's set up, man. Like, flexibility. You always say the term. I can't remember.
Optionality, baby. I was gonna bring it up. That's the word.
Yeah. So, hey, we just gotta be on top of everything. I would like for them to make their pick at 9. I mean, I've done so much work. I would hope that they're 9 and
reward Cody's effort, please.
Yeah, but I mean, if it's for a Giannis trade, that'll inherently create more work for us and more fun things to talk about. But we'll see what happens. It's just like when you think of traditionally win now, you know what I mean? Like, you're thinking these seniors who can come plug in and play, and it's just there isn't really that guy at 9, so to speak. You know what I mean? Who can come in and do that unless it's Cedric Coward, who KOC had the Raptors taken at 9, which is high for me personally.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's the interesting part here because where they're at, right? Like, are these possible by that context of win now? Are they worth number 9? And like you're saying, Cody, I think most of us would agree based on the names that we're seeing, probably not. Like a guy like Rasheer Fleming, which again, I also think you can make the conversation both ways. You can call him a project player, you can call him a win now player based on what he has available to him. I think he has a lot that you can offer this team right away. I think he's a very fun player. And I actually do really, really like him if the Raptors went for a swing on Rasheer Fleming. But a guy like him, like, is number 9 just too rich when you look at draft boards and he's kind of closer to the late teens or 20s or whatever have you? So like it gets really interesting there because then it becomes like a cost analysis thing, and that's economics, and I'm too stupid for that, and I'm sure most people don't care about that as basketball fans. So
And
we'll
that's
see.
why the guys in the front office get paid the big bucks. But
Yes.
yeah, fun times ahead. 100%. Fun times ahead. Can't wait.
Yeah. Who would have thought we'd be talking this much Raptors on June 3rd when the team has been done for like over like 2 months now? Like that's just crazy, but that's the NBA, I guess.
It's so funny. A little peek behind the curtain. Like we put together like a content schedule,
Yeah.
and everything that was I had put on there, we're just not talking about today because so much has happened. But hey, that's the sports media lifestyle, and obvious anything I had planned is not as fun as talking about what we've talked about today. So.
Yeah.
I mean, do we want to? I mean, Tom Thibodeau fired. You brought that up. I mean, do we want to talk? Do you want to touch on it a little bit? Like, I personally disagree.
Yeah.
With that,
This is my problem. I don't know if I disagree, and that's where I'm confused here because he just took them to the conference finals for the first time in 25 years. Back-to-back 50-win seasons for the first time since I believe like 1993 to 95, and rebuilt this program like when they were basically going nowhere for a bit of time.
Yeah.
And so is that guy not worth a bit of a chance? Who, to his credit, Tibbs' thing has been clear for the most part, where it's like, I know my starters, I know the guys I want playing, I'm going to play them as much as humanly possible. And that has caused issues in the past where it's run guys into the ground, whether it's through injuries, whether it's through fatigue, and it hasn't worked. This series against the Pacers, you could say he was forced into it or whatever. I don't really know. But at the end of the day, as a coach, he made decisions to change things. He put Mitchell Robinson in the starting lineup. Guys like Landry Shamet and DeLon Wright were getting minutes at parts of this series and like actually doing things. So in that sense, I find it tough to swallow because he was showing some, I guess, regard there in terms of wanting to change things up. But I think his overall philosophy is one that may have run its course in New York after 5 seasons. And when you see there's speculation about his voice being lost. I think there was an article by The Athletic. I didn't get a chance to read the whole thing, but there was talks about the tone being kind of not there anymore.
Yeah.
So when that happens, then I'm like, how do you recover?
Yeah, and I was just going to bring that up. Like I read the same article. Edwards, sorry, is it James Edwards? I believe
James Edwards. I think of it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Decision was made by Leon Rose with the support of James Dolan. The organization felt like they needed a new voice to reach even higher heights. I thought they liked him. I mean, Brunson, after they got eliminated, said like something along the lines of, and I'm paraphrasing, like, is this even a question? Like he was asked, like, is Thibodeau the guy? And he was like, I mean, is this a question right now? Like, yes. So it seemed like he had the room. I guess not, according to this article. So I guess that would be the only reason to make the switch because, man, this team was put together like a day before training camp. They made that cat trade and he was able to figure it out. And I thought Shamet played well. I thought Mitchell Robinson was actually like outplaying Miles Turner for.
He was awesome, by the way. A healthy Mitchell Robinson has kind of lived up to all the hopes of Knicks fans for all these years. And every time they hyped him up, and people on social media would be like, "Nah, whatever." You saw what they were talking about.
Yeah, and he missed like half the year, right? And he was like their trade deadline acquisition. So I don't know. I find it tough. Like, yeah, in the 5 years Thibodeau was with them, he won 226 games. The what is that? The 6 coaches before him, from 2012 to 2020, won like 12 more games. So he definitely changed things. And the question comes like, who's better? Like, that's
a great question.
There's been a lot of recently good coaches fired. Like, is it Taylor Jenkins, Mike Malone, Mike Brown, Michael Malone? Sorry.
So he goes by the Govey.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, I don't necessarily agree. I mean, if they felt like he lost the room and they're trying to get ahead of it, probably a good call then. But not knowing any of that and just looking on the on-court product, is it his fault that? I don't know if you've seen the numbers with Cat and Brunson on the court together. Everybody was kind of like, even when Cat got traded there, they're like, okay, like your point of attack defender and Brunson, who's going to just get put in actions all the time. Same with Cat, Cat got picked on by the Pacers. He got put in every action. Those guys did not play well together. And Cat was better with Brunson off than Brunson was with Cat off.
Yeah,
per net rating. So
Yeah, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but like it basically together they were awful. When when Cat was off, Brunson was decent, and then when Brunson was off and Cat was alone, it was fantastic based on the numbers of the net rating. So, like, I think that might have truly been what this kind of boiled down to. Did the front office believe,
or is that just the personnel that is there? Like, I guess Tom probably could have managed it better, I guess.
Yeah. So like, I think that's the question. I think Leon Rose in his front office looked at it and they're like, do we believe Tom can figure out Cat and Jalen? Which some are saying, well, maybe you consider trading Cat. I think that's crazy with how much you've already invested into him and in this core. I think it's more like, can we find it's, I think it's easier to first go to, can we find a coach to figure this conundrum out with Cat and Jalen Brunson? And like, even offensively, Tom Thibodeau's approach for the most part, I get Jalen Brunson was a clutch player of the year, but it was a lot of like, Jalen, you're our best player. Go save us. Just take the ball, take as many shots as you want. I do not care. When you saw what Cat can do in a fourth quarter, you saw him win them a game in that series with like 24 points in a fourth quarter, right? But if you looked at the Pistons series or throughout the regular season, there was a lot of Cat taking 2 or 3 shots throughout the fourth quarter, him not being entirely utilized effectively with Jalen Brunson. And I know that's a two-way street of what Cat is going out there to do and how engaged he is. And this problem is more defensive than offensive, but I think it speaks to like the pairing, or at least Cat's part in the pairing, not always being maximized because Jalen Brunson is quote unquote the guy, and that it totally makes sense why he's the guy. But I think there was a bit of just like almost like falling back on it without really giving it the necessarily thought it may have needed. At least that might have been what the front office saw. So if that was the case, I understand it where they're like, okay, well, we're not going to trade Cat just yet after what we gave up for him. Why don't we see if we can find a voice to figure this out?
Yeah, that was definitely part of it, right? And it's, I mean, yeah, there's even more questions with the roster. Like, Mikal Bridges needs a contract, and like, is Mitchell Robinson
Hart was not great for them. That's a name they're gonna have to figure out.
Got benched? Is Cat in Mitchell Robinson? Like, is like, yeah, Josh Hart to the bench? Like, is this what we're gonna do now? Like, so it's a lot going on in New York. It's a good. I mean, is it? I guess it's a good problem to have. Yeah, like it's
I would say so.
Than be like just god awful. So obviously they need to tinker. Yeah, Indy took advantage of them for sure. I think it was a bad matchup for New York, and Indy's just rolling, man. So changes are obviously already coming. With Tibbs being on, they got to find that coach. I wonder who it is. Johnny Bryant, I've heard.
His name's come up a lot. Yeah, I think he's the favorite.
Is he an assistant with the Knicks right now? I'm not completely sure.
I'm not sure either. I absolutely know I've heard the name like in league circles, but like here, let me see if I can look it up. Well, we talk about this.
He's with the Cavaliers.
Okay, he's a Cavs assistant.
Yeah, I know. Those great Cavs assistants are in the finale for the that Suns job, and I believe he's one of them.
I did see that. Yeah, there was reporting around that. I think Shams even tweeted that they've gone down to their final 2 choices.
Johnny Bryant and Jordan Ott with the Cavaliers are finalists for the Phoenix Suns head coaching job. So, hey, who knows? Who knows? But yeah, we've covered a lot today. I think
we have.
A lot. I'm getting tired here. Is there anything else you wanted to bring up?
I mean, it's a good question, Cody. There's the NBA Finals starting in a couple of days. We could quickly touch on that. I don't know how much time we'll have left for the CEBL talk, even though I'm a sicko and I would love to talk about the CEBL for hours.
NBA Finals, oh jeez.
Yeah, I mean, is the CEBL more important than the NBA Finals? I mean, it depends who you ask. No, I'm kidding. I think the NBA Finals we can touch on super quick because obviously by the next time we talk here to people, a couple games will have gone by and we'll have a real understanding of this series. But before we get into it, Thunder Pacers in the finals, 2 very different teams. I think it is a fantastic stylistic matchup. I wrote a preview for a different outlet and I talked about it, how it's like the Thunder has this amazingly overwhelming defense, and then the Pacers are basically a race car on the other end. They run, they don't stop. And it's like it's that immovable like object versus an unstoppable force. What happens? Usually it's fireworks, and I think we have the potential to see that here. But Cody, what do you make of the series?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you laid it out pretty good there. I think the Thunder can run with them.
That's part of it.
Only capable. The numbers support that. But like, yeah, I would say both teams are somewhat similar as well. Like, they both know their identity. They both have really good depth, man. Like, really good depth. And they almost have like the sort of, okay, stay with me here. They almost have like the same sort of players on each side when you get into the depth, like Alex Caruso and like Andrew Nembhard, like just two like defensive guys who are gonna go do their thing. And then like an Aaron Nesmith and a Lou Dort who are gonna like take on some of the best matchups and then hit a three every now and then. So I think it's gonna be fun. I mean, the Thunder are heavily favored. Like,
Yes.
I mean, for any NFL fans, I saw a funny post that the Jets are more favored to make the playoffs next season than the Pacers are.
Oh, come on.
To win the championship. Pacers are like plus 530, something around there. OKC's like minus 700. I got OKC in 6. I think the Thunder, I mean, obviously they got the MVP, SGA. I think OKC can play to Indy style more than Indy can play to OKC's. Like we'll see how Indy defends Oklahoma City. Like I know what Oklahoma City is going to do. They're just going to throw everything at Tyrese Halliburton. I wonder who gets Pascal Siakam. He's an X factor to me.
For sure.
Are all those guards, like, is somebody going to be big enough, like with their wingspan? Like, is Jalen Williams that guy to take on the Siakam matchup? Is Siakam just going to bust them wide open? Is it Chet? Like, do you want Chet guarding Siakam? And I mean, I don't know if that works. Like, it's going to be interesting to see, but I think OKC is just has more optionality.
There you go.
A lot of different things. They can run the track meet with Indy, even though Indy might be a bit more proficient in it. OKC's like right there. I believe like in a lot of metrics, like OKC's like second. So
yeah,
they can do that. And yeah, that's kind of my overall thoughts on it. OKC in 6.
Yeah. Overall conclusion, I will absolutely agree with you. I have OKC in 6. I feel like the popular pick that I've seen is OKC in 5. And it's for a lot of the reasons you laid out, Cody, because they've been just such a juggernaut throughout the regular season. Their strengths seem like they match up well against the Pacers. But the reason why and I'm not going to go into the specific player matchups because, like you mentioned, Cody, we could spend an entire hour just talking about that. The way these teams can match up against each other and who can guard who. I think there's so much optionality there, to reuse that word. But the reason why I like it is, like you said, the Pacers, like, yes, the Thunder have been pretty damn good at limiting transition and limiting transition scoring, whether it's by frequency, by scoring. They've been doing a good job. The Pacers have just been better than every other team at it, though. Like, I don't think we can just summarily discount how good the Pacers have been in transition just because OKC's been good at defending against it. I think we're going to have to see. I would put that as a toss-up for the most part. And then OKC has been really good at defending teams in the half court throughout the playoffs. Frankly, it's been disgusting how good they've been in defending teams in the playoffs. They force the most turnovers out of any team because they're just that good in the half-court setting.
Yeah.
Indiana's offense, for what it's worth, has been really good. I think they were second points per 100 half-court plays throughout the playoffs per clean the glass. The big question mark there is Indiana has faced teams that have had glaring defensive weaknesses they can pick apart. Like, that's the thing. The Oklahoma City Thunder just do not have that. They do not have a Karl-Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson. They do not have a hobbled Darius Garland. They do not have a really old and slow Milwaukee Bucks team. That's the question here. Can this half-court offense that's found a ton of success throughout this playoffs, can they do it against this OKC team? That's a huge question mark. But the reason why I give them more than a puncher's chance is because OKC likes to play in the way where they give up certain shots because that's their style of play. Right, so they'll force the ball out of your star players and they'll dare other guys to beat you. So the Mavericks beat them last year. PJ Washington was able to hit a bunch of corner threes, and it actually led them to winning some games. The OKC Thunder still do that. They give up more corner threes than just about anyone else. They give up the most in the second round. They give the most in the third round. And the best team at shooting corner threes in the playoffs, the Indiana Pacers. They're shooting basically 47% from the corners. It's guys like Aaron Nesmith, Andrew Nembhard. They're both shooting over 45% from the corners right now. So, like, if there's a team that can make you pay for that, and if you're OKC, it's Indiana. Will they? We don't know. That's the question. But if there's a team that's equipped to do it, kind of similar to your point when you said, like, OKC is equipped to deal with Indiana, I think in some ways Indiana is equipped to deal with OKC. That's not to say I think they're going to win. I agree with you. It's OKC in 6. I think Indiana's offense has to be basically perfect, and that's a huge bar to set against this team. And then you still add the layer of, like, well, then how are they going to defend OKC as well? And that's where I give OKC the edge.
Yeah, I don't agree with OKC in 5. I mean, it could happen. It wouldn't shock me, but I think Indiana has a legit shot. And, yeah, like I mentioned, Siakam, like, he's somebody that I'm also keeping an eye on. Like, is he going to be able to slice them up? Like, they haven't really had to go against a forward kind of creator like him in this postseason. Like, unless you count Julius Randle, who like Julius Randle looked all right for a couple games against the Thunder, even though
up and down, but he had some good games.
I mean, it's also Julius Randle and this is Pascal Siakam. So, yeah, I mean, that's one point I point to. Yeah, turnover is going to be huge. Like, how Indy's going to play fast. Can they keep the ball under control against the Oklahoma City Thunder team? Like, honestly, you could throw all the numbers out. And it's just like, well, what are they going to do against this historic defense? They can punish them in the corners like that. I wonder if Siakam can get loose and what he can do. My prediction would be, I think Halliburton's gonna have trouble. Like that's my prediction and why
he is not good against OKC just for his career. I think when he's been in Indiana this season, he wasn't great. I think he averaged something like, I don't want to say like 12 points. I think that's too low, but it wasn't great against OKC this year. And physical defense really troubles Tyrese Halliburton. That's been the biggest thing for him. So, like OKC, like, to your point, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, no, you're right. You're exactly what I'm saying. Like, that's my guess is he's not going to have a good series. If he's able to overcome the guard defenders, like they have like 6 options they can throw at him. So if he overcomes that and Siakam can kind of find his spots and the rest of the role players continue to do their thing like they have, like, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Like, but OKC can adapt to so many things. So can Indiana. I'm not saying they can't. Mm-hmm. OKC just does everything at a higher level, unfortunately, for the Pacers. And I mean, maybe Carlisle outcoaches Dagno. I'd be willing to hear that argument as well. I think Carlisle is fantastic. But yeah, both these teams have also gone like a bit deeper into the rotation. Like, I wonder how that's going to sort out. Lots to go. It's going to be fun. I can't wait to talk about it next pod here, but I think we've done a good job of, in like 8 minutes, taking a look at this series. I think we did a pretty good job there. Anything else you want to mention with these guys?
Man, I feel like that's the crazy part. I feel like there's still so much to mention. You know what I mean? It's so interesting. Like you said, these teams go deep into their bag when it comes to players. Like, are we going to see Thomas Bryant minutes again? Are we going to see not J-Dub, but the other Jalen Williams have an impact in this series?
Had some minutes against Denver. We haven't even talked about the MVP. So,
yeah, Shai Gilgeous, who's going to guard him? And I think that's going to be interesting. Aaron Nesmith, is his ankle going to be recovered in time? Or is it like, hey, Andrew Nembhard, he balled out in that elimination game, especially defensively, holding Jalen Brunson to 8 of 18. I think I had it here. Like this, like when Andrew Nembhard was a primary defender against guys like Damian Lillard, Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Brunson throughout this postseason, he held these guys to just ugly numbers. Like, he has really put clamps on dudes this year. People are calling him Nemhell. That's what it's like being guarded by Andrew Nembhard at times. So, like, but this is the MVP we're talking about. This is a guy who has played with him on the Canadian national team. If anyone knows Andrew Nembhard's defensive tendencies, well, you can say vice versa as well the other way, but Shai Alexander is going to know how to score against Andrew Nembhard, and he's going to find buckets.
Yeah, Aurora versus Hamilton, I guess, if it does. I mean, I would assume, like, again, like I said, the Thunder could throw a whole bunch of guys at Indiana's at Halliburton. Indiana could throw a bunch of guys at SGA as well to see what sticks. Obviously, less guys, but I mean, Nembhard's like, if not the first option, like the second one, like Nesmith and Nembhard would be the first guys that I would try.
For sure, they would be the two.
To go out on that island, that scary Gilgeous-Alexander island. But yeah, it's gonna be fun, man. Another Canadian trying to slow him down. His cousin couldn't do it, so
yeah.
Maybe his, like you said, fellow countryman and national team member can as well.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of Canadians, 4 Canadians in the NBA Finals. So it ties the record, which was set last year. But respectfully to the Dallas Mavericks Boston Celtics series, that was not a record. I'm sorry. With O'Shea Brissett, Olivier Maxence Prosser, AJ Lawson, you guys played in garbage time. You guys weren't really contributing, and Dwight Powell as well. It wasn't really like a minutes eater for that series. So it was great that they were there. But we genuinely have an opportunity to see 4 key players in this series that can help determine this series share the floor at some point. 4 Canadians sharing the floor in the finals, who are all playing a big part in Benedict Mathurin, in Andrew Nembhard, Lou Dort, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And that is freaking awesome.
Yeah, and then you also get to watch Pascal. Like, honestly, like,
honorary Canadian, by the way.
yeah, as a Raptors fan, like, I mean, you can't ask for much better. I mean, outcome than this, I guess, and like the viewing pleasure will be good. Like, I mean, I've seen people talk about the ratings. Like, we're an hour 10 into this thing. I don't want to get into that.
We're not getting into the ratings talk.
It's stupid.
It
I
is.
think it's going to be fun to watch. Like, I'm excited, and I'm excited to talk about it next week.
So am I. And come back here next week to run it back. We're going to have so many more thoughts. Hopefully, it doesn't take us an hour and 10 minutes to get into those thoughts. I pray. I mean, unless Giannis gets traded to Toronto, then finals be damned. We're going to be talking about Giannis to Toronto first. But Cody, let me gauge your interest here. What's your appetite right now for the CEBL? Because I can bang through this to give some CEBL updates, or we can chat a little. Where are you at?
Do your thing. Like, honestly, give everybody a minute. You got a minute to round up what's happened in the last week, okay?
I can absolutely do this in a minute. So we had another week of CEBL action in the books, and a lot has changed in terms of the landscape of Canadian basketball. So what stood out to me, I have some notes here. The Vancouver Bandits, who were pumping teams, they won their 3 games, beating each of those teams by over 30 points. They're not undefeated anymore. The Calgary Surge gave the Vancouver Bandits their first L. And if I didn't mention them last time, I apologize to Calgary because I've had it in my notes. I've talked to people about it. They were my dark horse team. And obviously it's still early in the season, but they've persevered with this identity of defense. They are 3-1. Sorry, they are 5-1. They've won 4 games in a row. They're 3-1 on the road. Gritty team. And for our NBA lovers, guess who's the starting point guard, our lead guard for the Calgary Surge?
Who is it, Zolfi?
It is Jameer Nelson Jr., son of longtime NBA player Jameer Nelson. He is a speedy bucket getter. But I only have a minute here, so I have.
Well,
Yeah, they got lots of fun players. I got to move forward here. The Shooting Stars, the Scarborough Shooting Stars, they are the lone undefeated team now. They're 3-0. Donovan Williams, we talked about him last time and how he's kind of torched the Raptors 905 in the G League with the Westchester Knicks. He set a career CBL career high with 34 points against Saskatchewan. He balled out. Yuri Collins has hit 3 game winners for that team. He's probably going to win Clutch Player of the Year if he keeps that up. Scarborough, really good. The Rattlers, they got their first win. They started, I believe, 0-3, 0-4. They're now in the winning column by beating, of all teams, the Niagara River Lions, the defending champs. And not just the defending champs, the champs who brought back the Lion King, Khalil Ahmad, the franchise leading scorer, the former MVP. He rejoined the team for that game. He balled out. I think he had like 20 in the first half or something like that. And the Saskatchewan Rattlers still beat them for their first win. So that was pandemonium. And last but not least, this wasn't as exciting, but the Winnipeg Sea Bears, hosts of Championship Weekend this year, they have struggled. I think they're 1-4, and they've lost 3 games at home this season, and they haven't done that like 3 in a row, mind you. Like, I think ever or in a really, really long time. So they have struggled at the Canada Life Center, which is surprising because they're going to be hosting Championship Weekend. They're going to have a bye into the conference finals, right? So they only need 2 wins to win a championship. But if they can't protect home court this year, well, that advantage goes out the window. So they got to really fix up at least at home. I have reasons why I think they could be better, again, roster-wise. We don't need to get into that today. But I think that pretty much covers up the landscape here. Any questions, comments, or concerns, Cody? How'd I do?
Whew, pretty good, man. That's a really good. You went a little over.
Okay, I'm a yapper. I'm sorry.
That's fine. That's okay. Who's counting?
Apparently we are.
Yeah, no, I actually wasn't. I kind of was counting. You were around, but yeah, really good job. We're trying to bring some CBL to the channel and to the website as well. And Zolfi's our best guy on that. I'm trying to do my best there, but with the draft and everything, that's kind of where my main focus has been. But Z, you're our best guy on it. Thanks for laying it all out there.
I will absolutely keep doing my part. We're going to do this together. You and I are the lower level basketball sickos here. When it comes to the 905, when it comes to the CEBL, we're going to constantly provide as much coverage as possible. So we appreciate everyone tuning in, but we do need to wrap this up. We are nearing an hour and 15 minutes. We have yapped like crazy, but there was a lot to yap about this week. So in fairness to us, we were just excited to talk about it, but we will be back next week. And until then, we thank you for your time to listening to another edition of Run It Back. And let us know in the comments down below so we can finally stop yapping and listen to you guys talk. What do you make of all this Giannis buzz? Do you buy it? Do you think it's bogus? If it was going to happen, would you include Scotty Barnes? Would you not? Why? Tell us. And then beyond that, for the draft, win now player? What does that mean to you? Who would you take? I know Cody wants Carter Bryant. I mentioned Kaman Malawash. Is there a different name that you think is a win now player? Let us know down below. But before you leave, please make sure to like this video, subscribe to Raptors Republic, so this gets out to as many people as possible. It would be sad if we yapped for an hour and 15 minutes and we didn't get some new people to listen to it and see what we were yapping about and listen to it. But besides that, RaptorsRepublic.com is your place for news, opinions, analysis. Off-season content is going crazy. We are still bringing quality coverage every single day on the website, so please be sure to check it out. But until then, for myself and Cody Wiles, we'll see you later when we run it back. Peace.